Alrighty. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Known Classics. This is episode 2205, episode number 2099. We have a Marvel trade and a DC trade. The first Marvel trade is, well, Incredible Hulk. It's an epic collection. It is Volume 4, In the Hands of Hydra. And here's a fun fact for you with this one. With this particular trade here, I am done with the 60s when it comes to this particular book. Yep. Which makes this the fourth book Marvel Comics where I have gotten the series of the 60s. And if you're curious though, what other series are you from Marvel where I've got the 60s? Well, this one. You have McKinney X-Men, Daredevil, and Amazing Spider-Man. That's it. I'd probably say there's still more titles. You probably think, okay, what could be the next one after this one? It could be one of a few titles. Fantastic Four, or probably a Thor at this point. Iron Man, I reviewed nothing from the 60s from him. Well, I think, no, actually, I have reviewed from the 60s from I can think of. There's still a few big ones, basically, I would love to get the 60s. And that would be Fantastic Four, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Avengers. And I think that's, actually, there's one more title. I think it's Silver Surfer. I think it's about roughly 6 titles. But this is actually going to be the fourth one that I get the 60s. Okay. Now, the issues themselves are written by Roy Thomas with Stan Lee doing some co-writing here. Art by Hiram Trampham and Sal Buscema. The trade itself covers Incredible Hulk, number 118 to 137. Yes, once again, 20 issues, plus not an annual, but Marvel Superheroes number 16. It's basically about a flying eagle. It's World War I character. These issues were released in the period of August 1969 to March of 1971. And also, 126 is a really important issue. It gets that. So you have Clash of Titans, where basically you have the Hulk versus the Submariner. Yep. Yeah. The Submariner did this weird thing in the 60s where he occasionally showed up not only in pages of Fantastic Four, but also the Hulk as well. So yeah, it's basically Hulk versus Submariner for like one issue. Mainly because of the fact Hulk is coming to his kingdom. Yep. Also, just be her Chample, basically, he's slimmed down the Hulk. Yeah, he's slimmed down and gave him a freaking six-pack. He's usually very beefy, but it seems like he's slimmed down here. So then pretty much with this issue here, he's out of there, and now, by the way, the cover is this cover right here, 119, where he takes on Maximus the Mad, who is a character first Fantastic Four, and he's mostly an enemy of enemy of the royal family of the Inhumans because he's evil. It's the Hulk going to Atlantis again, while dealing with the evil Inhumans. Yeah, it's mostly Hulk versus evil Inhumans for 119, and then you have 120, where more evil Inhuman stuff. Yep. Also, Betty Ross basically tries to get involved here with this, but and of course, well, you have General Ross looking for his daughter, obviously. Oh, by the way, during this period of time, now Bruce is never stated he's in love with Betty, but I'm sure he probably wants to be with this. She might be in a league. It's more obvious the fact that at this point in time, Glenn Talbot is the one in love with Betty Ross. As a matter of fact, here's a bit of a spoiler. He's the first one who marries her before she divorces him and marries Bruce. I'm thinking one, but nope. And then, of course, you have in 121, you have the Hulk versus a glob. Yes, going to the swamp. Be like, oh, man thing. Nope, not going to Florida. Just this creature known as Glob. And you might be asking, is this like the sole appearance of this character? Let's find out. Because this seems like a very standalone-ish character. Yeah. Well, actually, it says it's apparent death. But this is not the only appearance of this character. He would actually return 8 issues later. And then after this, he would pop up a handful of times. But his most recent appearance was actually in, well, if you don't count Grand Design, was actually in Standoff. Yeah, apparently S.H.I.E.L.D. apprehended him at some point. Yeah, he returns in 129 for reasons. Yep. So yeah, he's not a standalone character. In the case of 122, he has another fight with the Thing. Which I think it was his fourth fight. And then, of course, in issue 123, we have a rematch with the Leader. Yep. Fights the Leader. And then, of course, here's something interesting, though. He once again not only fights Leader 124, but also fights the Rhino, who's been revived. It's not like he died, he came back. And then Superhumanoid gets destroyed. So goodbye to this robot. And then in 125, he takes on Thor villain, the Absorbing Man. Yes, seriously. Now, with next issue 126, this is quite interesting though. 126 was Roy Thomas basically. Now, here's the thing about this one. It's actually the third of a three-part of this one. And you're probably thinking, how is it a three-parter? Well, there's a reason for that. And this story here, which features appearance by Nightcrawler. No, not Kurt Wagner. Oh, no. It's a complete different character. Yeah, this is a complete unrelated character. Yeah, just a random robot. Just a random creature. They changed him to Darkcrawler to avoid confusion with him. Yeah, he's here in this issue. He doesn't return again to issue 269 in 1981. Oh, and he also changed his name to Darkcrawler. His last appearance as this character was actually the first issue of the brief revival of the Defenders in 2001. Yeah, that was his last appearance. He was called Nightcrawler, but then they changed the name to Darkcrawler with basically their book. Now, as for why in the world this was, I'm not really sure, but yeah, basically since wrote by Roy Thomas, it was a way at the time to briefly retire Doctor Strange. Well, because I think Marvel had plans for him for a couple of years. Now, this is Nightcrawler, a.k.a. Darkcrawler. That's what he looked like back in his debut. And, of course, he returned again for like 15 years. Yeah, mostly put, the first part of this three-part actually happened in Doctor Strange 133, which at the time was the final issue of the first line for Doctor Strange. And it would continue in issue 22 of Submariner. And then was concluded in this story here. All about basically getting Doctor Strange out of the realm of the Dying Ones. And in effect, this three-parter was basically one of the many, this is basically a prelude, one of the many setups for Defenders, which happened a few years after this. Yeah, and then of course, at 126, Doctor Strange retired into Marvel Fanfare number 1. No, I'm not kidding about that. Which came out 2 years after this issue came out. Actually, it was like a year. Yeah, 1 year later, he came back. And they did explain a backup feature in the issue of how he came back. Yeah, there's a whole feature of a lot of it. Also, I should point something out about Doctor Strange. You may notice, though, he's wearing a mask. That was something Roy Thomas did to him. Steve Ditko had nothing to do with it at all. That was all Roy Thomas. And then at 127, we have him fight multiple villains. And the villains are Mole-Man and Tyrannus. Also, the guy on the cover is called Mogul. Yeah, he appears in his one story. But Mole-Man and Tyrannus? Mole-Man is definitely not one of his villains. It's a Fantastic Four, but Tyrannus is definitely his. Yep. And then in the next issue, he fights the Avengers. But it's not the regular Avengers. Well, the lineup of this group is Goliath, Black Panther, The Vision, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Goliath. No Captain America. I think he made a brief took Adley absence to appear along with Iron Man. It is interesting that he fights in this issue. And then the very next issue, he just fights the Glob again. And the leader. Yep. Then in 130, he takes a guy called, well, there was a rival of his, of Raul Stander, who appears with one issue. Yeah, it's a standalone appearance. It's a one-shot character. Yeah, it's an issue where this was quite weird of an idea. They separated the Hulk and Bruce Banner. Something which the animated series in the 90s did adapt this issue. Yes, seriously. And something which Spider-Man himself experimented with in 2018. We had Spider-Man and Peter Parker be two separate people. Yep. Now here's something interesting though about this. In there, like issue 131, we have first appearance of Jim Wilson. Who is Jim Wilson, you might ask? He is the nephew of the Falcon. Yep. He is nephew of the Falcon. This issue 131 was actually his first appearance. Chronologically explaining his backstory in issue actually in the 2007 World War Hulk Gamma Corps. But yeah, Jim Wilson, who kind of in a way at this point in time kind of replaced Rick Jones as a supporting character in the Hulk title, kind of. Because I think at this time, if I remember reading some comics correctly, Rick Jones got transferred to Captain America and became new Bucky for a brief period of time. Yeah, and Jim Wilson was here for a long period of time. He was basically here as a regular supporting character. From this issue forward, he missed some issues per se, but then he was there up to about 272, took a leave absence, came back in 208, and was there until 232. Took another leave absence, came back in 279. After that, it became very sporadic, but I think by 232 is basically where they kind of put the kicker someplace else. Yeah. But basically, Jim Wilson is a great character. Sadly, this character is no longer alive, and the fact that, here's the thing, one of the very few superheroes who has no issue with the Hulk is basically Jim Wilson's uncle, the Falcon. Because Jim Wilson was one of the Hulk's longtime friends and never traded him. You could basically think of him as, oh, by the way, the Hands of Hydra, basically, the title of this book. It comes from issue 132. Where he spends the remainder of this issue basically he takes on Hydra. He takes on Hydra in issue 131, 32, and then takes on this dictator named Volker Dachshund, who's here for 2 issues. Yeah, because he gets killed off for the next issue. And then in 135, he takes on Kang the Conqueror. Yes. And by the way, he can't stand Kang the Conqueror. You want to know why? This is quite hilarious. Because, oh yeah, you're a human. You got basically use me. I thought that was so funny. And then, oh yeah, but you have guest appearance about the Phantom Eagle. Which they did include his debut appearance in Marvel Superhero 16 in this trade. So, people can understand where the heck came from. Which, if you're curious though, yeah, he actually even made a debut in that book. Yeah, then chronologically, next pair of pages of Thor Corps because of time travel stuff. Yeah, so yeah, then pretty much in oh yeah, apparently they kill off the characters, and then we have debut of 2 other characters named, well yeah, Return of the Abomination in 136. Whereas like, Hulk knows you. Yeah, I'm the freaking Abomination, dude. Yes, seriously. He actually says that. Yes, the Abomination. One of Hulk's most frequent one of the most frequent villains of his Rogues Gallery. And here's the thing. Prior to this issue here, his last appearance Fighting the Hulk was back in issue 91. So this is the first time he fought him since 1960. This only came out over was like 3 years later. Yeah, and the previous book he appeared in was issue Thor. Yeah, for some reason Marvel had him fight. First he fought the Silver Surfer, and then he went back to fighting Hulk for a couple issues. Yeah, I thought this was a really cool idea. You also have Zardak the Star Slayer. Yeah, he first appears in 136. And this guy got killed off in 307. Yeah, he appears for these 2 issues here and returns issue 306, 307, and he's done. He returns again like 14 years later. And there's also Cyber. Yes, the guy called Cyber. Who also gets killed off in that very issue. Yeah, Captain Cyber. Who only, after this issue, disappears again to 306. And he gets killed off in 307. Yeah, I'm not sure why in the world they decided to do that for. Where in 307, yeah, let's kill off 2 minor Hulk villains. Yeah, let's have Bill Mansell kill off 2 minor Hulk villains. For no apparent reason. Also, Kalatu. I think it's this giant, like, weird creature. Yeah, he appeared in this 2-parter, and then he appeared in 307, and that was it. Yeah, it's like anybody appears in this 2-parter, just basically got killed off in the return appearance. But this book is really good. I do recommend it to Hulk fans, and I give this book roughly a 10 out of 10. It's awesome. Next up we have is Tales of Batman by Gerry Conway, Book 2. Of course, you have Gerry Conway do the writing with some of these issues with Roy Thomas. Yes, Roy Thomas is Batman. With all the issues artwork done by the late Gene Colan. And this book contains, get this, excuse me, Batman 337, 346, 349, erase me, Detective Comics 505, 513, and World's Finest Comics number 270. Now, these issues here will also include some backup stories. Batman has his backup pages point in time, usually with either Robin or Batgirl. Here's the strange thing about these 2 features. Robin's featured in here, Batgirl is not for some reason. For Robin's first one, he's basically, the whole thing with him is like investigating a circus. My only guess they included the Robin feature in here is because Gerry Conway wrote it. So, mostly put, by the way, in case you're curious though, these issues come up with a period of July 1981, and the final issue was released in June of 1982. Yeah, as why 347 was skipped, probably because basically he didn't write the issue. Mostly put, basically, it's like Batman dealing with, like, not Mr. Freeze per se. And I'll say who this was. Like, Mr. Freeze actually is not here. Because that's the strange thing with Mr. Freeze. He is not, after his debut appearance, Mr. Freeze has not appeared again for many years in DC Comics. It's called The Snowman. Yeah, that's the name of this villain, called The Snowman. And, well, he didn't appear very much. No, he appeared 2 times. He returned again to issue 522, where he got killed off. Yeah, he died. Returned again 2 years later and just died. Yep, the backup story is all about the murder of a clown. It's actually resolved over next issue. And also period of time Dick Grayson left college. Bruce was not very happy with that. So he did a circus life thing. I'm actually quite happy they included this the Rob feature, because it's very good. It basically does lead to Robin become part of the main feature of the book for the received future. Then we have the next issue 338, where he's basically fighting a sports mantle. Yeah, a sports team villain. Yeah, so we have 2 very minor characters. And then basically with this issue here, they kind of resolve that 2-parter where it turns out the guy actually shot himself. And then we have in the comics 505, We have Batman taking a werewolf, and there's a Batgirl Becca feature, but yet that's not in here. If you're curious why it's not in here, my only guess is probably the reason why it was not featured in here is because Conway didn't write the feature. Yes, that's probably the reason why. And it turns out he did not write it. It was actually by Carrie Beckett. Yeah. Yeah, and there's also this recurring character named Arthur Reeves. Yeah, he's like a primary foe of Batman throughout these issues that are publishing. Yeah, and this basically covers a small portion of his basically time in Batman comics. If you're curious what happens, I think he's dead. Yeah. And there's also a plot thread in here of Hamilton Hill and the other one just trying to get rid of Batman. Mostly, anyways. That's mostly put what the story here is when it comes to. That's one of the many subplots issues, is basically this mayor election where Hamilton Hill, who's actually corrupt. I like the one that appeared in the Batman Animated series, who's actually a very decent guy. Here he's basically a crooked guy who's in the back pocket of Rupert Thorne. Yeah, and also when Hamilton Hill took over as the mayor of Gotham City, the first thing he did was order James Gordon to resign. Why? Due to increasing of police shootings. That was the reason why. I'm like, could you investigate why? Well, they probably got ways to basically increase crime. Yeah. The whole subplot of that is quite interesting. Then we have a World's Finest issue. Yes, a World's Finest issue where Batman teams up with Superman to take on Metallo. Yes, seriously. My only guess is the reason why DC threw this in here is because Gerry Conway wrote it. So throw it in here, because it's just Batman stuff, so why not? Then you have a few issues of taking on a character known as the Mannequin. No, seriously. That's what this freaking character is called. The Mannequin. Yes, first appears in 506. Who's only here for two issues. He gets killed off for next issue. Yeah, quite a very strange character per se. It's like, oh, done after like 2 appearances. Yeah, I'm not really sure exactly why. There's also a Rebecca feature called with a one-shot character, which they decided not to include in here. Pursue Joy, which is by Mike W. Burt and Diamonds Are Forever, by Bob Riskins. That's actually a Batman story. I think they may have.
I need to interrupt you. I don't want to put this in the freezer.
This one or that one?
That one's yours. You see it? The one's darker, see?
Okay.
Alright. Whoops.
Okay. So technically, we think of Tits Comics as a period of time. It's like, oh, there's Becca feature, and they don't include the Becca feature. It's in the actual book itself. Yeah, for this trade here, only reason why is because Gerry Conway didn't write it. And then we have another subplot in here. Yes, another subplot. Aside from the whole thing with Hamilton Hill and Arthur Reeves, there's a Poison Ivy subplot. Yes, a Poison Ivy subplot where she influences like the Wayne Foundation board of directors to basically bankrupt them. Yeah. That's simply the reason for it. Yeah. And I believe this was, let's see. I'm trying to think of his name. Lucius Fox. I'm thinking like, was this period of time his first appearance? No, it was actually in 307. That was basically his first appearance. I think it's him being his assistant. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, being his assistant period of time. Yep, so Yeah, and basically all poison ivy trying to influence people. The plot is easily resolved pretty quickly. Also, this period of time, Batman was actually not living in Wayne Manor this period of time. Nope, he actually lived in Wayne Tower. The reason why, because Dick Grayson was not living in Gotham anymore, so he basically moved there. Then we have this really cool image here of Two-Face. Yeah, it's a quick little two-parter, no pun intended. Basically, Two-Face dealing with, well, Batman. It's a very interesting two-parter, what it is. And we also have where they go back to Wayne Manor, and they also do a ghost spirit time, which turns out to be Man-Bat. Yes, Man-Bat. Yeah, and also there was another issue here that featured it where they also Dr. 13 himself showed up in here, and he basically was trying to prove the ghost theory. And somehow Wayne Manor is part of the Gotham Historic Registry because there's no house. Yeah. Oh yeah, and also there's a minor subplot here of, well, basically trying to cure Kurt Langton of his Man-Bat stuff, which he's been stuck in Man-Bat for quite a while, but these issues are fantastic. Can't wait to discuss the very next trade, which I think does wrap up Gerry Conway's run with the book, if I'm not mistaken. He did skip one issue, 347. I think because he didn't write the issue. Yes, yeah, that's true. He didn't write it. It was written by Roger Sifler with art by Trevor Eden. Yeah, he apparently did the artwork for the entire comic book. Thinking, really? Trevor Eden? Yeah. I met this guy once in person years ago. I don't know if he remembers me or not, but he basically was only a very brief run with Batman. He just did some issues of Batman. He also is a detective. I think he did detective. Actually, he did a very brief run. If they decided to collect this time with detective with Batman, it'd probably be just one trade. Yeah, probably just one, maybe two trades, because also some issues of Legends Dark Knight that he worked on. Yeah. But it all depends. But I give this trade, Batman by Gerry Conway, a 10 out of 10. It's really good. Okay, so that's episode review. Next episode's going to be Eden Zero. Okay, next video. Bye.